How is the girl? Learning fast, Your Majesty. She can hum almost any melody. The border between human and collective space was marked by nothing physical, just coordinates in the vast darkness. But today those invisible lines felt like walls as 40 human. Warships took position on one side, and the collective fleet assembled on the other. Captain Tay's diplomatic vessel crossed into human territory with only minutes to spare. The 6 pursuing ships stopped exactly at the border, waiting. Behind them, hundreds more collective vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel, forming a wall of steel and firepower that stretched across the stars. On the human side, more ships arrived every hour. By evening, there were 200. By morning, 500. It still wasn't enough. The collective had numbers that humanity couldn't match. But the human fleet held its position. Weapons powered but not aimed. A clear message. We will not attack, but we will not surrender. Inside Tay's ship, the crew watched the standoff with growing tension. They had made it to safety, but safety felt fragile when 2 fleets faced each other across an invisible line. Ray stood in the observation deck, staring at the collective ships. Dr. Na stood beside her, worried about what the girl was thinking. That's your people out there, Na said quietly. The Kelvari fleet is part of the collective force. Does that bother you? Ray pulled out her tablet and typed, They're not my people anymore. My people are the ones who gave me my voice back. She had been practicing constantly during the flight. Her humming had become true singing now. Her voice was still rough from the surgery damage, but it carried emotion that no amount of technical perfection could match. She knew dozens of Earth songs by heart, from simple lullabies to complex symphonies. But she also understood what was happening outside. 2 fleets on the edge of war. All because the collective wanted her back and humanity refused to give her up. Too many will die for me, she typed. This is not right. You're not just one person, Na said gently. You're proof that the collective's conditioning can be undone. You're hope for every species they've silenced. Ray shook her head. She typed quickly, I need to talk to them. All of them. The collective needs to see what music did for me. Let me show them. How? Na asked. Ray pointed at the communication array. She typed, let me sing for them. All of them. Every ship. Every world. Let them hear what the collective tried to take away. Na's eyes widened. Ray, if you broadcast on all frequencies, you'll be violating the treaty. You'll be teaching music to other species. That's exactly what the collective has been trying to prevent. Yes, Ray typed. That is exactly what I will do. Na found Captain Tay on the bridge and explained Ray's plan. Tay listened, then contacted Empress High immediately. The Empress appeared on screen looking tired. Behind her, advisors argued in hushed voices. Captain, she said, what's the situation? The girl wants to broadcast, Tay said bluntly. She wants to sing to the entire collective fleet, to all their worlds. She thinks if they hear what music has done for her, they might understand. High was quiet for a long moment. If she does that, there's no going back. The treaty will be completely broken. The collective will have to respond. I know, Tay said, but maybe that's what needs to happen. We've been hiding our music for 300 years. Maybe it's time to share it. The Empress closed her eyes. When she opened them again, there was something like relief in her expression. Do it, she said. Let the girl sing. Let the galaxy hear. Whatever happens after, we'll face it together. Tay found Ray in the observation deck. She was ready, standing straight and calm despite the fear in her eyes. Dr. Na had helped her prepare, choosing the song carefully. It would be Arirang, the same folk song that had been humanity's anthem during the first war with the collective. Are you sure about this? Tay asked. Ray typed, I spent my whole life silent. I will not be silent anymore. She walked to the communication station. Medic Han helped her configure the system, setting it to broadcast on every frequency the collective used. Military channels, civilian networks, emergency bands, everything. The crew gathered to watch. Some looked scared. Others looked proud. All of them understood that what happened in the next few minutes would echo through history. Ray stood before the microphone. She closed her eyes, remembering Dr. Na's lessons. Remember the melody. Remember the emotion. Remember why you're singing. She opened her mouth and began. The song started soft, just a gentle hum. Then words came. Korean words that Ray had learned phonetically, not understanding their meaning but feeling their weight. The melody rose and fell like breathing, ancient and simple and achingly beautiful. Her voice was imperfect. It cracked in places. It wavered. It showed every mark of the damage that had been done to it. But that imperfection made it more powerful, not less. This was a voice that had been taken away and fought back. This was a voice that refused to stay silent. In the collective fleet, monitors suddenly filled with audio. Captains and commanders tried to shut it down, but the broadcast was everywhere, impossible to block. They heard a song in a language most had never encountered, sung by a voice that should not exist. On the Kelvari ships, the effect was immediate and devastating. Kelvari crew members stopped mid-action, their conditioned minds encountering something they had no programming to handle. The music bypassed their logic, reached parts of their brains that should have been dead. Some began to shake. Others made small sounds, their damaged vocal cords trying to respond. A few started crying, tears running down faces that hadn't shown emotion in decades. But it wasn't just the Kelvari. Across the collective fleet, members of 47 different species experienced something unprecedented. Their neural conditioning, which had trained them to ignore emotion, was being challenged by sound waves carrying pure feeling. The music didn't force them to feel. It just reminded them that feeling was possible. On collective worlds, billions of beings heard the broadcast. Most dismissed it as noise. But some, especially younger members who remembered fragments of their species' lost cultures, felt something stir inside them. A memory of what had been taken, a question about whether logic was truly enough. Ray sang all 3 verses of Arirang. When the last note faded, she opened her eyes. Tears ran down her blue face, but she was smiling. The communication channels erupted in chaos. The Collective Supreme Council demanded explanations. Fleet commanders reported crew malfunctions. Worlds requested more information about the source of the transmission, but there was silence from one group. The Kelvari ships, all 7 of them in the collective fleet, had gone completely dark. No communications. No movement. Just stillness. Then slowly, one of the Kelvari vessels powered down its weapons. Then another. Then all of them. A transmission came through, audio only. The voice was rough and broken, someone speaking for the first time in many years. This is Kelvari vessel, iron logic. The speaker struggled with each word. We hear the song. We remember. We remember there was something before silence. More Kelvari voices joined in, each one struggling. Each one fighting through years of conditioning to form simple words. We remember music. We remember joy. We remember being alive. The Supreme Council tried to override the transmissions, demanding the Kelvari ships return to formation. But the Kelvari weren't listening anymore. They were too busy trying to hum a melody they had just heard, teaching each other a song from a planet they had never visited. In the human fleet, someone started singing Ari Rang. Then another voice joined. Then dozens. Hundreds. The entire fleet became a chorus, singing across the darkness to the collective that had tried to silence them. The collective fleet began to break apart. Not all of it. Many ships held formation, their crews still loyal to logic and order, but others, especially those with younger crews, started drifting away from the battle lines. They weren't joining humanity. They were just refusing to fight. Empress High watched it all from Earth, tears streaming down her ancient face. This was what she had waited 3 centuries to see. Not a military victory, not a conquest. Just the simple power of one voice singing one song, reminding the galaxy that there was more to existence than pure logic. The Supreme Council transmitted one final message to the human fleet. This is not over, they said. You have violated the treaty. You have caused chaos. There will be consequences. But there was something different in their tone. Not anger, not even certainty. Just confusion, as if they were encountering a problem their logic couldn't solve. How do you fight a song? Inside Tay's ship, Ray collapsed into a chair, exhausted. Dr. Na wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. You did it, Na whispered. You changed everything, Ray typed with shaking fingers. I just sang. Music did the rest. Outside, the standoff continued, but it was different now. The border between human and collective space had become less like a war zone and more like a stage, where 2 different visions of civilization faced each other not with weapons, but with the question of what it truly meant to be alive. And somewhere in the darkness between the fleets, the echo of Ray's song still lingered, a reminder that some things cannot be conditioned away, cannot be logically dismissed, cannot be silenced no matter how hard you try. The galaxy would never be the same. Empress High stood in the war room deep beneath the palace, surrounded by holographic displays showing ship positions across half the galaxy. Her military commanders argued around her, their voices rising in panic. She ignored them all and thought about music. 300 years ago she had been just high, no title, no empire. Just a young neurologist working in a research facility in Seoul, studying how the human brain processed sound. She had been 28 years old, excited about her work, unaware that she was living in the last days of Earth's innocence. The collective had arrived on a Tuesday. Their ships appeared in orbit without warning, broadcasting messages in every human language simultaneously. They came in peace, they said. They came to help humanity join the galactic community. They came to fix what was wrong with the human mind. Hai remembered the confusion. Wrong with us? What could be wrong? The collective explained patiently. Humans were unique in the galaxy. Every other intelligent species communicated through pure logic and mathematics. But humans made unnecessary sounds. They wasted neural processing power on emotional responses. They created complex audio patterns that served no survival purpose. They called it music, and it was a sign of dangerous mental instability. The collective could help. They had technology to rewire the human brain. They could remove the dysfunction. Humans could join the galactic community as proper, logical beings. All they had to do was give up their music. Earth's government had been divided. Some leaders thought cooperation was wise. The collective was powerful beyond imagination. Refusing them seemed foolish. Others argued that music was part of human identity, something worth protecting. The debates raged for weeks while the collective ships waited in orbit. Then the collective grew impatient. If humans wouldn't accept help voluntarily, they would be forced to accept it for their own good. The neural suppressors rained down from orbit. They were small devices barely larger than seeds designed to blanket the planet. Once activated, they would emit frequencies that disrupted the parts of the human brain that processed music. Within days, the collective promised humanity would be cured. Chai had been in her laboratory when the suppressors activated. She felt it immediately, a strange pressure in her head like something was trying to wrap around her thoughts and squeeze. She tried to hum a simple tune, something her grandmother had taught her, and found that she couldn't. The sound died in her throat. The neural pathways wouldn't connect. Terror filled her. This wasn't help. This was erasure. She ran to her computers and started working. She had studied the human brain for years. She knew how music affected neural pathways, how it created connections that pure logic couldn't reach. She worked for 18 hours straight, analyzing the suppressor signals, looking for weaknesses. What she discovered changed everything. The suppressors targeted specific brain regions, but they couldn't completely shut down music processing without killing other functions. The human brain was too interconnected. Music wasn't a separate system that could be removed. It was woven into everything humans did, from language to memory to emotional regulation. More than that, Hai discovered that music actually helped humans resist external neural manipulation. The complex patterns of melody and rhythm created strong neural pathways that the suppressors couldn't fully override. Humans who actively engaged with music showed significantly reduced effects from the suppressor signals. She published her findings immediately. Within hours, the information spread across Earth's networks. People understood what they had to do. They had to keep making music. They had to resist not with weapons, but with song. What followed was the strangest war in human history. Cities under suppressor bombardment filled with singing.
People gathered in streets and parks, playing instruments and teaching each other songs.
Soldiers in fortifications sang in rotation, keeping the melodies going 24 hours a day. Parents sang lullabies to children. Teachers led students in classroom songs. The entire planet became a chorus of defiance. The collective didn't understand. They increased the suppressor signals, trying to overwhelm the resistance. But the more they pushed, the more humans sang. Music became survival. It became identity. It became the thing that separated humanity from the cold logic of the galaxy. The war lasted 6 months. The collective realized they had two choices: destroy Earth completely or negotiate. They chose negotiation. The treaty was simple. Humans could keep their music, but they had to contain it. No broadcasting into space. No teaching it to other species. Humanity would stay in their corner of the galaxy, and the collective would leave them alone. Hai had become a leader during the war, one of the scientists who helped organize the resistance. When the treaty was signed, people looked to her for guidance. How should humanity move forward? How could they ensure this never happened again? Her answer had been controversial. She took the experimental longevity treatments, chemicals that slowed aging to a crawl. She would live for centuries. Guiding humanity through its first steps as a galactic species, she would make sure that future generations never forgot what they had fought for. 300 years later, she stood in this war room, having outlived everyone she had known. She had ruled wisely, expanding human territory, building alliances where possible, always careful to keep the treaty with the collective. But the treaty had been a cage, and she had felt its bars every day. "Your Majesty," one of the admirals interrupted her thoughts. "The Collective Supreme Council is demanding a response. They want the Kelvari girl surrendered immediately. They're threatening full quarantine of all human worlds if we refuse." Hai looked at the holographic display showing Captain Tay's ship running desperately for the border. Behind it, 6 collective warships drew closer with each passing hour. "What are our fleet positions?" she asked. "We can have 40 ships at the border in 30 hours, the admiral replied. "But, Your Majesty, the collective has hundreds of ships they could deploy. If this turns into a real war, we'll lose," Hai finished. "I know. But we've been living in fear of that for 3 centuries. I'm tired of being afraid." She activated the main communication system, opening a channel to every human ship in the fleet. Thousands of faces appeared on screens, captains and commanders waiting for her orders. 300 years ago, Hai said, the collective tried to take music from us. We fought them with songs instead of weapons. We proved that humanity's strength isn't in our technology or our military. It's in our ability to feel, to express, to create beauty even in darkness. She paused, looking at all those faces. Some were young, born decades after the First War. Others were older, veterans who remembered when humanity had to fight for the right to sing. "The girl on Captain Tay's ship is Kelvari," Hai continued. "Her species was forced into silence by the collective. They had their emotions removed, their voices taken away. But music is healing her. She's learning to feel again. And the collective is terrified, because if one person can break free from their conditioning, others might too." The screens showed hundreds of reactions: shock, understanding, determination. "I'm ordering the fleet to the border," Hai said. "We will hold the line. We will protect Captain Tay and his crew, and we will show the galaxy that the collective's way is not the only way. Species don't have to choose between emotion and logic. They can have both." "Your Majesty," a commander spoke up. "The Collective Supreme Council is calling." "They want to negotiate," Hai smiled grimly. "Put them through." The hologram shifted, showing 5 alien faces. The Supreme Council, leaders of the collective's 47 species. They looked at Hai with expressions that mixed concern with anger. "Empress Hai," the central figure spoke through translation. "You are making a grave mistake. The Kelvari subject must be returned. Her neural damage is extreme. She will not survive without proper recalibration." "She's not damaged," Hai said calmly. "She's healing. You're just afraid of what that means. We fear nothing. We simply maintain order. Logic demands that you control everyone," Hai interrupted. "That you force every species to think the same way, feel the same things, or rather feel nothing at all. You call it civilization, but it's just a prettier word for prison." The council members exchanged glances. Finally, one spoke. 300 years ago, we allowed you to keep your dysfunction because containment was possible. But if you teach other species your emotional chaos, the galaxy will descend into war. We have seen what unchecked emotion does. The Kelvari destroyed themselves with it." "No," Hai said firmly. "The Kelvari destroyed themselves with war. Emotion didn't cause that. Fear, greed, hatred, those caused it. But so did the absence of empathy, love, and hope. You removed all emotion from them, and you think that solved the problem. But all you did was create a species that survives without living. This debate is irrelevant," the council stated. "Surrender the subject or face the consequences." "I'll tell you our answer at the border," Hai said and closed the channel. The war room erupted in argument again. Advisors pleaded with her to reconsider. Generals outlined the ways they would lose a full conflict. Economists explained the disaster of complete quarantine. Jai listened to none of it. She activated a private channel to Captain Tay's ship. "Captain," she said when his face appeared. The crew named her Ray because she couldn't tell them her real name. It was Medic Han who suggested it, saying the syllable was simple and soft, easy to understand. The girl didn't respond when they called her that, but she didn't respond to anything. She just watched them with those dark, empty eyes. Dr. Na moved a spare bed into the medical bay so she could stay close to Ray. The other crew members thought it was strange, but they didn't question it. Everyone on the ship was feeling strange these days, knowing they were defying the collective's orders. "She needs to eat more," Han said on the third morning. He looked at the half-finished meal beside Ray's bed. "Her body is recovering, but slowly." "She's depressed," Na said. She sat beside Ray, holding a cup of warm tea. "Wouldn't you be? Imagine having your voice taken away, your emotions locked inside you, and then suddenly feeling them again but having no way to express them." Han nodded slowly. The scans show her neural pathways are damaged, but not destroyed. The conditioning targeted specific areas of her brain, but it's not permanent. In theory, she could recover. "In theory," Na repeated. She looked at Ray, who stared at the wall with no expression. "What if we tried music again?" "The collective will know if you do that," Han warned. "The ship's AI monitors everything. If they detect repeated musical transmissions, they'll have evidence that we're experimenting on her." Na smiled grimly. "Then we'll be quiet about it." That night, after most of the crew had gone to sleep, Na sat beside Ray's bed. She had brought a small device, an ancient music player that her grandmother had given her. It was so old that it didn't connect to any network. The AI couldn't hear what it played through the small earphones. Na placed one earphone in Ray's ear and kept the other for herself. Then she pressed play. The music was simple. A Korean folk song about spring flowers and mountain streams. The melody moved slowly, rising and falling like breathing. Na watched Ray's face carefully. At first, nothing happened. Then Ray's eyes widened. Her breathing changed. Her fingers twitched. The blank expression cracked, and something that looked like pain and joy mixed together crossed her face. This time, Ray didn't cry. She closed her eyes and leaned toward the sound, as if she could pull it into herself through pure will. Na played 3 songs that night. Each one brought a different reaction. A fast rhythm made Ray's heart race. A sad melody made her curl up on herself. A triumphant march made her sit straighter, as if something inside her was waking up. When the third song ended, Ray opened her eyes and looked directly at Na. She raised one hand to her throat, touching the scars where the surgery had altered her vocal cords. Her mouth opened, trying to form sounds that wouldn't come. "I know," Na whispered. "I know you want to sing." Ray's hand reached out and grabbed Na's wrist. The grip was desperate, almost painful. She pulled Na's hand to her own chest where her heart beat fast and hard beneath her ribs. Na understood. Ray was trying to say that she felt something. That whatever the collective had done to her hadn't killed the part of her that could feel. Every night after that, they listened to music together. Na started keeping a journal of Ray's reactions, noting which types of songs produced which responses. Classical music made Ray calm. Rock music made her agitated. Lullabies made her sad in a way that seemed almost like relief, as if she had been waiting her whole life to feel that particular emotion. During the days, Ray started changing in small ways. She would turn her head when someone entered the room. She would eat her meals more completely. Once, when Han dropped a medical tool and it clattered on the floor, Ray flinched at the noise instead of just staring blankly. "She's waking up," Han said one afternoon. He was running neural scans, watching the patterns on his screen with fascination. "Look at this. The damaged pathways are rebuilding themselves. Her brain is literally creating new connections." "Is that possible?" Na asked. "It shouldn't be. The Kelvari conditioning is designed to be permanent, but somehow exposure to music is bypassing the blocks. It's activating parts of her brain that should be dead. Music is pattern and emotion combined," Na said thoughtfully. "Maybe that combination is something the conditioning can't account for. They blocked emotion, but they couldn't block her ability to recognize patterns. And they blocked speech, but they couldn't block her ability to hear." Han shook his head in wonder. "Music is using the parts of her brain they left intact to reach the parts they tried to kill." On the 8th night, something new happened. Na was playing a gentle melody, something with lots of repetition. Ray was listening with her eyes closed, her face finally showing something like peace. Then she made a sound. It was barely more than a breath, a soft humming that lasted only a second. But it was sound. Intentional sound. Music. Na's eyes filled with tears. Ray, did you? Ray opened her eyes. Her mouth curved upward in something that might have been a smile. She tried again, and this time the hum was longer, shaky but definitely there. You're singing, Na breathed. You're actually singing. Over the next few days, Ray practiced constantly. The sounds she made were rough and painful at first. Her damaged vocal cords struggled to form the notes, but she didn't stop trying. Between medical treatments, she would sit in her bed and hum, working through the pain to find her voice again. Han monitored her progress with amazement. The more she uses her voice, the more her brain rewires itself. It's like the physical act of making music is healing the neural damage. But not everyone was happy about the changes. Some crew members worried that they were interfering with another species' culture. Others feared what the collective would do when they found out. Those fears proved correct on the 10th day. Captain Tay received a transmission from the collective's central command. The message was cold and clear. They knew about Ray, they knew she was on the ship, and they were sending vessels to intercept them. You have 48 hours to surrender the Kelvari subject, the message stated. She must be returned for immediate neural recalibration. Any resistance will be considered an act of aggression against the collective. Tay assembled the crew in the main cabin. Ray sat with them, still silent but now watching everything with awareness instead of emptiness. We have a choice, Tay said. We can surrender Ray to the collective and she'll be conditioned again. Everything we've helped her recover will be erased. Or we can run. Run where? Someone asked. Human space. If we can reach our territory, the collective can't touch us without starting a war. They might start a war anyway, another crew member pointed out. Yes, Tay agreed. They might. The cabin was silent. Everyone looked at Ray, this small alien girl who had become the center of an impossible decision. Ray stood up slowly. She walked to the center of the room, looking at each crew member in turn. Then she opened her mouth and hummed. The sound was still rough, still broken, but it was unmistakably a melody. The same Korean lullaby that Na had first hummed to her. When she finished, she touched her chest again, then pointed at each of them. The message was clear. She was thanking them. She was asking them not to let her voice die again. We run, Tay decided. Plot a course for the border. Maximum speed. As the crew rushed to their stations, Na stayed with Ray. The girl's eyes were scared but determined. She hummed again, practicing, fighting to keep the voice she had just discovered. Behind them, 6 collective warships began their pursuit. The race had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The ship ran through space at maximum speed, its engines pushing harder than they were designed for. In the engineering bay, warning lights blinked constantly. They couldn't maintain this pace forever, but Captain Tay hoped they wouldn't have to. The human border was 6 days away. The collective ships were 8 days behind them. It was going to be close. In the medical bay, Dr. Na had transformed the space into something that looked more like a music classroom than a hospital. She had brought out every recording device and speaker from the archives. The walls played a constant stream of Earth music. Everything from ancient drums to modern electronic sounds. Ray sat in the center of it all, absorbing everything. Try this one, Na said, playing a jazz piece. The trumpet wailed and the piano danced, the rhythm complicated and free. Ray's eyes went wide. She tried to hum along, but the melody was too complex. She made a frustrated sound in her throat. It's okay, Na assured her. That one's hard. Let's try something else. They worked for hours each day. Na would play a song and Ray would try to copy it. Her voice grew stronger with each attempt. The sounds came easier. The pain in her throat lessened. Medic Han had explained that her vocal cords were adapting, learning to work again despite the damage. But it was more than just physical healing. Ray was changing in deeper ways. She had started to show emotions clearly now. She smiled when she successfully matched a melody. She frowned when she made mistakes. Once when a particularly beautiful symphony played, she cried silently, tears running down her blue face while she listened. Why do you think music affects her so strongly? Han asked Na one evening. He was reviewing Ray's neural scans, comparing them to baseline Kelvari readings. Because it's what they took from her, Na said simply. Not just music itself. The ability to feel freely, to express without logic. Music is pure emotion in sound form. For Ray, it's like finding a part of herself that she never knew existed. Han nodded at his screens. Her brain activity is remarkable. The areas that were suppressed by conditioning are almost fully active now. She's not just recovering. She's becoming something different. Something between what the Kelvari made her and what she might have been naturally. Over the following days, Ray began to communicate more effectively. She couldn't speak words yet, but she could hum in different tones to mean yes or no. She could make short melodies that expressed happiness or sadness. It was a language of pure emotion, and the crew learned to understand it. She also started to remember things. One morning, she grabbed Na's hand and pulled her to a computer terminal. Ray touched the screen, trying to write something. Her fingers were clumsy, but eventually she managed to draw a symbol. That's a Kelvari character, Na realized. Do you remember your real name? Ray nodded and drew more symbols. The translation software processed them slowly, then displayed the result. Raythalis of the 7th colony. Raythalis, Na repeated gently. Is that who you are? The girl hesitated, then shook her head. She pointed to herself and hummed a single note. Then she pointed to the written name and made a different, discordant sound. The message was clear. Raythalis was the name of the silent, conditioned creature the collective had created. Ray was who she was becoming. That night, Ray asked for something new. She pulled Na to the computer and typed slowly, "My world. Show me." Na pulled up information about the Kelvari homeworld. It was a cold planet covered mostly in ice and rock. The cities were enormous structures of metal and glass, perfectly organized and efficient. The population was billions, all of them living in perfect logical harmony. Ray watched the videos with an expression that was hard to read. She saw Kelvari adults moving through their days in complete silence. She saw children in conditioning centers, learning to suppress their emotions. She saw a civilization that worked like a perfect machine. Then she typed, "Were we always like this?" Na had researched this question. "No," she said quietly. "There are old records from before your species joined the collective. The Kelvari used to be different. They had art and music. They had families that showed affection. But there was a terrible war and millions died. The collective offered to help by teaching your people to control emotions. They said logic would bring peace. And did it?" Ray typed, "Yes," Na admitted. "There hasn't been a war on your world in 200 years. Ray stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she typed, "But what did we pay for peace?" It was a profound question, one that Na couldn't fully answer. They sat together in silence, watching the videos of a world where no one laughed or cried or sang. Finally, Ray typed one more thing. "The others. Like me, can they be saved?" Na's heart broke a little. "I don't know," she said honestly. "You're recovering because the conditioning was recent and incomplete. Adults who've lived with it for decades might be beyond help. But children, younger ones like you, maybe they could learn to feel again." Ray nodded slowly. She hummed a melody that Na had come to recognize as determination. On the 4th day of their flight, something changed. The collective ships had been maintaining their distance, following but not attacking. Suddenly they accelerated. The gap began to close. "They're not going to let us reach the border," Captain Tay said grimly. "They'll intercept us in 2 days." The crew worked frantically to squeeze more speed from the engines. They dumped cargo to reduce weight. They diverted power from non-essential systems. But it wasn't enough. The mathematics were clear. The collective would catch them before they reached human space. "We could fight," one officer suggested. "Against 6 warships?" Tay shook his head. "We're a diplomatic vessel. We'd last maybe 5 minutes in combat, and then what do we do?" Tay had no answer. He went to the observation deck to think and found Ray there. The girl was looking out at the stars, her reflection ghost-like in the window. When she heard him approach, she didn't turn around. She just started humming. The melody was one Tay recognized. It was Arirang, an ancient Korean folk song that Na had taught her. The tune was about separation and longing, about people divided by forces beyond their control. "That's a sad song," Tay said quietly. Ray stopped humming and typed on a small tablet she now carried everywhere. "Sad songs are important. They help you feel the pain so you can heal from it." Tay sat down beside her. "Did the collective teach you that?" "No, Dr. Na did. She says humans learned this a long time ago. That denying pain doesn't make it go away. You have to face it. That's true, Tay agreed. Ray typed more. The collective is afraid of pain. That's why they removed emotion from my people. But pain is part of being alive. Without it, you're just existing, not living. For a silent alien girl who had only learned to feel a few weeks ago, she was remarkably wise. Tay wondered if maybe that was because she had experienced both sides. She knew what it was like to be numb and what it was like to feel everything. I'm sorry, we might not be able to save you, Tay said. Ray shook her head. She typed, You already saved me. You gave me my voice. Even if they take it away again, I'll know it existed. I'll know I felt real things. That's more than most Kelvari ever have. She went back to humming Arirang, her rough voice carrying the ancient melody through the quiet observation deck. Tay listened and felt something shift inside him. They might not be able to outrun the collective. They might not be able to fight them. But they had given this one person the chance to feel, to express, to be truly alive. That had to count for something. That night, a message arrived from Earth. Empress High appeared on the screen, her ancient eyes tired but determined. Captain Tay, she said, I'm sending the fleet to meet you at the border. We'll hold the line. You just need to get there. Your Majesty, if you do that, I know what I'm doing, she interrupted. 300 years ago, I watched the collective try to take music from humanity. We fought them and won, but we agreed to contain our culture. We've been living in a cage and I'm tired of it. It's time to break free. Behind her, Tay could see military advisors gesturing frantically. The Empress ignored them. That girl you're carrying, High continued. She's proof that the collective's way isn't the only way. She's proof that emotion and logic can coexist. Bring her home, Captain. Let the galaxy see what we've seen. The transmission ended, leaving Tay staring at the blank screen. The pieces were falling into place. This was bigger than one rescue. This was the beginning of something that might change everything. He went to tell the crew to hold their course. They would reach the border in time or die trying. Captain Tay stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars blur past the viewport. His hands rested on the control panel, steady despite the nervousness in his chest. Behind him, his crew moved quietly through their duties, checking systems and monitoring the endless darkness of space. The diplomatic vessel was 3 days from the collective's central station. 3 days until humanity would learn its fate. Tay turned to look at Dr. Na, who sat at her station surrounded by old Earth artifacts. The woman had devoted her entire life to preserving something most of the galaxy considered worthless. Music, songs, the sounds that humans made for no practical reason except that it made them feel something deep. Inside, how are the archives? Tay asked. Na looked up, her tired eyes brightening. Secure. All 20,000 recordings are backed up 3 times. If the collective agrees to let us keep them, we'll have proof that our music is part of who we are. Tay nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. The collective didn't understand music. To them it was noise, chaos, a sign that humanity's brains didn't work correctly. The galaxy had 47 intelligent species, and they all communicated through mathematics and logic. They sent information as clean data streams. They saw sound as a tool for transferring facts, nothing more. When humans sang or played instruments, the other species heard only inefficient static that served no purpose. For 200 years, humanity had tried to explain. They had played symphonies for alien councils. They had shared lullabies and war songs and everything in between. The response was always the same: confusion, then concern, then disgust. Last year, the collective had issued its ultimatum: stop making music or leave civilized space forever. Empress High, who had ruled Earth for 3 centuries, sent Tay on this mission. He carried every argument humanity could make, every piece of evidence that music was harmless. But Tay knew the truth. The collective didn't care if music was harmless. They cared that it was different, and difference frightened them. Captain, a voice called from the communication station. We're receiving a distress signal. Tay moved quickly to the console. Where? Close, very close. It's weak but automated. A ship is dying out there. The regulations were clear. Diplomatic vessels didn't respond to distress calls. Their mission was too important. But Tay had been a rescue pilot before he became a captain, and some instincts never died. Change course, he ordered. Find that ship. The crew worked efficiently, following the signal through the dark. 20 minutes later, they found it. The alien vessel was small, barely larger than a shuttle. Its hull was cracked open, leaking atmosphere into space. Whatever had attacked it was long gone. Life signs? Tay asked, one faint in the cargo bay. Medicon, suit up. We're going in. They brought the survivor aboard 15 minutes later. She was small, maybe the size of a human teenager with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Her species was Kelvari, one of the newest members of the collective. Tay had met a few Kelvari diplomats before. They were known for being extremely logical, even by collective standards. Dr. Na arrived in the medical bay as Han worked on the girl. Is she going to live? Han checked his instruments. Yes, but barely. She's malnourished. Her neural implants are damaged. And look at this. He pointed to scans of her throat. Her vocal cords have been surgically altered. She can't speak. Na leaned closer, studying the scans with a doctor's eye. Why would anyone do that? Kelvari conditioning, Tay said quietly. He had read about it in the diplomatic files. They remove the ability to make unnecessary sounds. They say it eliminates emotional noise and makes their people more efficient. Na's face went pale. They did this to a child? To all their children? The girl's eyes opened slowly. She looked at them without expression, her face as blank as stone. When Han tried to communicate using the standard collective frequency patterns, she didn't respond. Her neural implants were too damaged. We need to report this to the collective, one of the crew members said. They'll send someone to pick her up. Tay started to agree, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the way the girl looked at them with those empty eyes. Maybe it was the thought of sending her back to a species that had cut away her ability to express herself. Or maybe it was just that he was tired of the collective's rules. We'll keep her until we reach the station, Tay decided. Let them collect her there. Over the next 2 days, the girl stayed in the medical bay. The crew brought her food and checked her health, but she showed no emotion. She didn't smile or cry or show fear. She simply existed, as blank as a computer waiting for input. Dr. Na visited her often. The older woman would sit beside the bed and work on her research, organizing centuries of Earth's musical history. She didn't try to communicate with the girl. She just sat there, a quiet presence in the sterile room. On the evening of the second day, Na was alone with the girl. The ship was quiet, most of the crew sleeping through the night cycle. Na was tired, her eyes hurting from staring at screens all day. Without thinking, she started to hum. It was an old song, one her grandmother had taught her when she was very small. Autumn Outside the Fortress, a melody about loss and longing from ancient Korea. Na's voice was soft, barely more than a whisper in the quiet room. The girl's vital signs spiked on the monitor. Na stopped humming, startled. She looked at the girl and froze. Tears were running down the girl's blue face. Her mouth was open as if trying to make a sound that wouldn't come. Her whole body trembled. The blank expression was gone, replaced by something raw and desperate and achingly human. Oh, Na breathed. Oh, you can hear it. The girl reached out with one shaking hand, pointing at Na at her throat. At the source of the sound, Na understood. She started humming again, and the girl closed her eyes. More tears came, flowing freely now. Her fingers curled around Na's hand and held tight, as if the sound was the only thing keeping her from drowning. In that moment, Na realized something the collective had never understood. Music wasn't just sound. It was a key that opened doors in the mind that logic couldn't reach, and somewhere inside this conditioned, controlled, silenced child, those doors were still there, waiting. By morning, Na had made her decision. She found Captain Tay in his quarters. We can't give her back, Na said simply. Tay looked up from his reports. Now we don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Na's voice was steady. That girl felt something last night. Real emotion. The conditioning didn't kill it, it just buried it. Music can bring it back. You're talking about undoing collective neural programming. That's giving her back her voice, Na interrupted. Her real voice. The one they stole? Before Tay could respond, the communication system activated. A message from Earth, encrypted and marked urgent. Tay opened it, and Empress High's face appeared on the screen. The immortal ruler looked ancient and young at the same time, her eyes holding centuries of wisdom. Captain Tay, she said, I've heard about your rescue. The collective is demanding the Kelvari girl be returned immediately for reprogramming. I'm ordering you to refuse. Tay's breath caught. Your Majesty, that would be an act of war. I know, the Empress smiled sadly. Protect the child, Captain. At any cost. It's time we stopped being afraid of who we are. The message ended, leaving Tay and Na staring at the blank screen. Outside the ship, the stars continued their ancient dance, indifferent to the small humans who had just changed the course of galactic history.